Okay, class, this is the second part of chapter 11, which covers pages 527 to 534. This is encountering the Mongols, and we'll talk about three different cases or three different places in which the Mongols inhabited. Also, like always, make sure that you go back and you read these pages again to just supplement the PowerPoint, and make sure that you go back and study your guided reading worksheet to help you understand everything that's going on. China was the main target of the Mongols, and in 1209, Genghis Khan launched an attack on this wealthy and prosperous region. After a series of campaigns lasting some 7 decades, the Mongols were victorious. While the Mongols were brutal and destructive in the north of China, they were much more accommodating in the south. Some of the goals of the Mongols during this time in China: they want to extract the wealth from China. So in order to do so, they had to accommodate the Chinese. Some of these accommodations included the use of the Chinese administrative practices, taxation systems, and the postal system. When we talk about accommodations, we're talking about some of the things that they let the Chinese continue to do. So they let the Chinese kind of still run their administrative practices basically under the rule of the Mongols, and they continue to tax the Chinese and use their postal system the way they had always done. And they took the Chinese dynastic title of the Yuan dynasty. They transferred the capital of from Karakorum in Mongolia to Beijing in China. So this became the capital of the Mongols in China, in Beijing. The Mongols did adopt some aspects of Chinese statecraft in order to rule a region more efficiently and withdraw as much wealth as possible. They went so far as to establish a Chinese-style dynasty. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, listened to the counsel of his favorite wife, Chabi, and adopted policies that encouraged agricultural production in order to generate more wealth. The Mongols adopted some aspects of Chinese ancestor veneration and built roads, canals, and other forms of infrastructure to promote commerce. While the Mongols did try to accommodate their Chinese subjects, they were foreign occupiers who were there to extract as much wealth as possible, and thus resented the Chinese. Mongols' disregard of the exam system and their reliance on foreigners such as Muslims from Central Asia and the Middle East to administer the empire irked many. The Mongol elite kept many of their traditional practices, such as sleeping in the tents, even when they were in the capital. This titled Mongols Being Mongols, and basically talking about some of the things that they never did change as far as being Mongols. First of all, Mongol women never adopted foot binding. We talked about foot binding in China during this time period, or right before the Mongols took over. The Mongol women didn't accept that. Also, marriage between Mongolians and Chinese was forbidden. The Chinese scholars couldn't learn the Mongol script or the Mongol system of writing. And the Mongols supported artisans and merchants, which was opposite of Chinese values. If you remember, Confucianism thought that the merchants were the lowest on the social hierarchy, whereas the Mongols believed trade and the merchants selling of goods was very high. Factionalism among the Mongols, rising prices, and a series of natural disasters weakened their hold on the power and allowed some space for rebels to challenge their authority. The Yuan dynasty was overthrown in 1368, and the new Ming dynasty sought to eliminate the memory of the Mongols. So you see on this slide about some of the things that led to the Mongol decline in China. Two brutal attacks brought down the Persian Empire, falling much faster than China. These attacks were more intense and devastating than earlier assaults from Turkic invaders. They were also more psychologically devastating, because unlike the Turks, the Mongols were not Muslim but pagan barbarians. Out of lack of respect for agriculture and because the damage caused by the Mongols' herds, there was serious damage to the region's farmland. Important underground irrigation systems fell apart, leading to the desertification of some areas. The Persians had much more significant impact on the Mongols than the Chinese did. The invaders quickly realized the importance of Persian bureaucracy and used it for their own purposes. They also began to rebuild the damaged cities and road systems. When the dynasty fell in the 1330s, the Persians did not expel the Mongols, but rather assimilated them to Persian culture. Using technology such as catapults and battering rams gained from campaigns in China and Persia, the invasion of the Kievan Rus was an impressive assault on the weak and disunified people. This new Russian territory was called the Golden Horde, and this was the Russian term for the Mongol rule. While the invasion was impressive and devastated some areas, the Mongols chose not to occupy the relatively poor and isolated Rus. Instead, they settled nearby on the steppes and pastoral lands north of the Caspian and Black Seas. They put them in striking distance of the cities from which they extorted tribute. Some cities chose to resist and face brutal retaliation. Kiev, for example, was razed, sacked, plundered. Others collaborated and helped the Mongols collect tribute and taxes and wound up doing very well for themselves. Moscow rose as the core of a new Russian state that helped adopt Mongol weapons, diplomacy, taxation, court system, and a draft. The Russian Orthodox Church enjoyed more Mongol tolerance, and the tax exemption spread and reaches deeper into the countryside. So now you see by the slide the causes for the decline of the Mongols in Russia, mainly one being the division of the Mongols, and then the growing strength of the Russian state. As you see, this kind of ends the second part of Chapter 11. Make sure that you get yourself prepared for questions that may come or being spread throughout the PowerPoint. Once again, as always, go back and read the section, study your guided reading notes, make sure that you take care of everything that you can do to be successful for this chapter.